This session will deal with communication and emergency communication. And let me introduce Professor Kailash Gupta from India, from Malaviya National Institute of Technology. And Mr. Gupta is going to present us a study case of a trial or maybe some experimental communication in crisis situation, which is, if I were understand, already tried in Jaipur, India. So that's very interesting. I hope I do understand correctly, Professor, the abstract and the summary of the paper, but we are very interested in hearing you now. The floor is yours for 20 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Namaste to everybody. Namaste is an Indian salutation, which is good for all time, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. So I am today morning, Harold talk about submitting a proposal to CDRI funding proposal. So I want to talk about that little bit. CDRI is a coalition of disaster resilient infrastructure. It is an initiative of the government of India in 2019. And as of now, about 27 governments, including US, UK, etc., and 8 UN organizations, World Bank, UNDP, etc., have joined it. And in 2000, the CDRI launched a call for proposals for fellowships to have a disaster resilient infrastructure, new ideas, creative ideas. And there was international competition, and I'm first cohort CDRI fellow. So my research is, this presentation is based upon CDRI fellow funding. So the title of my and in the TIEMS annual conference, they proposed 2 types of papers. One is the academic research paper and another is practitioner paper. So we are going to have both the papers. This paper is about the academic or research paper, and after 25 minutes, we will have another paper that is practitioner praxis paper. So this paper is about fail-proof and FRUGAL ham emergency communication. Before I proceed, I'm from the International Emergency Management Society India chapter, and the application was submitted through TIEMS India chapter. And this is, the research is housed in Malaviya National Institute of Technology, Jaipur. I'm alma mater from there also. So, and we have got a team member, Sandeep Barua, who will also be presenting part of the paper. He is a scientist from the Indian Ministry of Science and Technology, and he's expert on amateur radio or ham. Ham is a technical, ham is a noun and dictionary, which means a licensed operator of amateur radio operator. So, and we also have got an intern. She is doing a master in public administration at Minnesota State University, USA. Okay, so this is the agenda that we have got 3 slides about the background, which is very important. Then we are talking about the ongoing research. This is a 1-year research proposal, and we are in the 7th month now. So we have some completed tasks, and we will talk about the next steps. So in India is one of the most vulnerable country to climate change, according to the research, and more than 9 million people have died since 1900 due to disasters. And India has got a dubious distinction of maximum fatalities, any type of disaster, whether a Bhopal chemical disaster, mid-air plane crashes, floods, earthquake, etc. And which is, I mean, I feel ashamed that so many people die, and this should not happen. So the crux of the research is that the governments, by not setting up amateur radio stations within district emergency operation centers, are creating communication vulnerability-led disasters, resulting in avoidable mortality, morbidity, and infrastructure losses. So, Nellert and Otto has published a paper, which is research paper in peer review, which is titled "When All Else Fails, 21st century amateur radio as an emergency communication medium. In everything fails in communication, then amateur radio still works. And examples are, they are throughout the world now, after 9/11, after Gujarat earthquake in India, after anywhere, because when disasters occurred, communication towers fall, even cell phone get jammed, and even the satellite phones did not work after Gujarat 2001 earthquake, even recently 2019 cyclone Fani in Odisha in India, because they are not charged and the administrators were not aware how to use that. Unless and until something is machine and man work daily, it is absurd to expect that these things will work during disasters. And that is why amateur radio works, because amateur radio is a vocation. It is not a profession. It is a vocation. It is not a vocation, and it is a technical hobby. So people got passion, and it is the first social media, and it doesn't depend upon any infrastructure of towers or anything or personal support. If I got a license, I got a ham station, amateur radio HF. Somebody else in the world have, and we are on the same frequency, and the conditions are conducive. We can communicate without any third-party intervention. So there are examples, and Mayor and Napalm have written that permanent amateur radio antennas in hospitals and shelters help in restoration of communication after Hurricane Sandy in USA. So similarly, in the Thiruvananthapuram or Trivandrum, Kerala State District Disaster Management Authority wrote to Amateur Radio Society to establish amateur radio station as Cyclone Bruvi was coming. Cyclone, hurricane, etc. can be predicted, but other disaster cannot be. So we must always be prepared. So communication failure in disaster, that causes avoidable mortality, morbidity, and infrastructure losses. And in India, we go with our transreceiver and antenna, or sometimes we are invited for a restoration. But the time is lost in the process. And when disaster, every second is a difference between life and death. So this is very important if they are pre-built. So my colleague now, Barua, he is a scientist and he will talk about more. He is more technical person. So briefly, Sandeep, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Gupta, for giving me this opportunity to talk to the participants of this emergency management conference, international conference. I would like to thank the conference organizers also. In fact, I have been a ham for last 30 years, and I am involved in two-way emergency communications in India in many of the large-scale disasters, and I have the practical experience of Bhuj earthquake in Gujarat, then tsunami in Andaman in 2004, then Uttarakhand flood, and there are so many actually emergency situations that has happened in India. We the hams, the radio amateurs, with our radio communication equipments, the volunteers have been helping the governmental agencies and the non-governmental agencies with our personal radio communication equipments. So what Dr. Gupta is trying to emphasize is that India is not so much resourceful. Our Indian people, the middle class people, don't have the resources to establish their own radio communication stations. But we have the capability, we have the expertise, and I am from the Ministry of Science and Technology. I'm a scientist F here. We have an establishment in our department, radio communication infrastructure, through which we are capable to do it. So what is important now at this point of time, even the US Homeland Security, they also keeps on emphasizing the amateur radio role of the amateur radio communication, and they covered our activities in India in one of the American journals, CQ. If you Google CQ, I forgot the year, it was I think in 2006 or 7 or 2008. It covered our activities in Delhi. We regularly conduct mock drills for emergency communication, and our communication devices are actually robust, resilient, and foolproof, because in an emergency situation, the cell phone networks, even if the cell phone towers don't break down, the network gets totally clogged because millions of people at the same time tries to communicate to one another, asking about the welfare about their family members. But in that situation, our communication network works very proficiently, very reliably, efficiently in communicating and bridging the gap between the third-party people. Third-party people means we, the radio emitters, having the license, can communicate with one another. But during emergencies, we can help the other people who don't have the licenses. So they come to us, request us to get the information. For example, during tsunami at Andaman and Nicobar Islands, we communicated from the mainland from Delhi to Andaman because telephone networks were totally down. And in that case, all the third-party communications were only able to be handled by radio amateurs, hams only. So that's how. So I would like to emphasize that through this conference, the government of India should give proper importance to our communication system and install amateur radio stations in governmental establishments as a do-it-yourself technical activity through which throughout the year we are capable of means we are self-reliant in our communication. We have the expertise. As Dr. Gupta said, satellite communication fails. Why satellite communication fails? Because an administration person, he actually doesn't have the expertise to use. I mean to say, if I have a satellite phone, I have to use it regularly. And we hams, the radio MSRs, we use it regularly for our day-to-day communication. We don't wait for any emergency situation. Regularly we communicate. So there's satellite phones were down because those were not charged. Every day they don't charge their satellite phones, and in the event of an emergency situation, the satellite phone may be not working. But our communication system, these handheld equipments, not only voice, we have the capability of digital data communication. For example, I have this equipment from Canode. So this equipment has the provision to receive data information inside it. It has a computer, so I can actually send a text message without the cell phone network. We have the capability of transmitting text messages, images, then files, transferring of files from computer to computer without using cell phone network. So we have many capabilities through which we can communicate, and it's definitely resilient. I hope I'm not taking too much of time, Dr. Gupta.
No, we will talk more on the second presentation that is more practical. So, okay. Thank you very much, Sandeep. So this research has got two components. One is the theoretical level and another is a praxis level. So in the theoretical level, that is this presentation is about theoretical level, about the academic research to write a white paper that will create awareness for establishing ham club stations within district EOCs in India. That's what this presentation is about. After 25 minutes, we have got another presentation that is a praxis level to establish a ham club station in Malaviya National Institute of Technology, Jaipur. And why this research? So what? So our expected outcome of this research is reduction of mortality, morbidity, and infrastructure losses that generally occur due to communication failures during many disasters. Now, we have already completed task this is a 1-year fellowship and we are on the 7th month. So we have completed, we have identified stakeholders and communicated with them, including the government people. And we have received responses, including from the National Disaster Response Force, which is established under the Disaster Management Act 2005. And they have got 12 battalions throughout the India, and they are doing very good work in response. So they are also interested. Then Amateur Radio Society of India, which is a body of the hams, which is affiliated to International Telecommunication Union. They are also collaborating with this research. And we had recently a HemFest there. We presented there. Then we have already conducted 2 focus group meetings with the license holders and lay people to talk about our project and our research and how to go about and what are the problems and challenges and solutions. we have already estimated that for the whole of India, there are 739 districts. And in each district, there is emergency operations center. And if the amateur radio station is the equipment is set up, it will cost only $3 million or 22 crore Indian rupees, which is peanuts for the India, size of India. And this will give the maximum social benefit return compared to any other investment, resilient investment. So our next steps are to write a white paper, which we are already writing, which is a process which is going on. It is the academic paper, and we have already published in like this 2 other conferences. There was a recently World Congress on Disaster Management and Natural Hazard Workshop in Colorado. And so we will peer-reviewed journal will write, and so the purpose is to how to mitigate the measures to pursue. We will pursue the government for policy change. As of now, a custodian like Sandeep is a custodian of the Vigyan Prasar radio station. Only him a license holder can be a custodian. But we are suggesting that a collector or administrator of a district may be made a custodian of a district, because the government has to invest. So with the purpose is to safeguard security and safety of the equipment. But he may not be allowed to communicate unless he has got a license to communicate. He has got an amateur radio license. That is our proposal to the government, and we will pursue it. And we will write to there out of 739 districts. We will try to identify some collector who is also a ham. Probably he can set up in his district amateur radio station, and he could be. We will try to use him as a champion. So these are the references, and yeah, I'm ending. So we are open for questions, and as I have told you, so we are open question, and you can write afterwards also at kailashgupta@my.unt.edu. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for respecting strictly the timing. That's good. That's fair for the others, and we will probably have many questions on this idea of it's pure resilience, having a radio communication network during crisis. You know, it's very interesting, very important. So let me introduce now Mr. Grynszpan. So Mr. Grynszpan is, Mr. Stéphane Grynszpan is a French person belonging to GEOLSemantics, which is a company, and the paper will present some technologies to deal with crisis communication, and I will be very interested in hearing your paper, because it's the abstract is not so clear for me, so you need to have a huge amount of pedagogy to explain to everybody what is the aim of the paper. So for 20 minutes, thank you very much. Mr. Grynszpan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will try to do a short and quick presentation. The project was called Safe City. It was a French national security collaborative research and development project which lasted 3 years, funded by the BP, which is a public bank of investment. The project was to enhance the security of smart cities with innovating products and services for road and school safety, connected petrol, command post, and communication. 2 pilot sites were concerned: Nice on the French Riviera on the south of France, and Paris La Défense, which is a business district of Paris. And the roles of GEOLSemantics was to analyze social networks, as you said, to generate alerts in case of events requesting first responder actions. As a semantic technological solutions publisher, we offers various tools to understand text, including social media and geo-chronolocated events. The hypothesis from scratch was to observe social networks to detect these events and incidents earlier than other type of alerts. That was the hypothesis from the beginning. It was to detect relevant incidents such as accidents, traffic jams, fires, floods, falling trees, landslides, forgotten luggages or illegal garbage, acts of violence, spontaneous parties, and fight between groups. And we have selected Twitter because we considered that it was the most appropriate platform to communicate breaking news or spotting events because of this monthly active users, 342 million, because of the number of tweets which are sent per day, which is 500 million tweets, and because there is the possibility to share pictures, video, and also to be able to have a geolocation of the message that you would like to send, and an easy categorization through the hashtag retweets and reply. And also one of the other reason is because of the demographic age of this of the user, which is 63%, concern 35 to 65 years old. That's one of our specialty. By the way, the event geochronolocation. So we extract the event type, the time, and the precise location with the GPS coordinates with date and time. You have an example which is given here in the tweet message saying the next Nice Apéro meeting will be tomorrow evening at Le Bateleur, a restaurant in the old area of Nice. And then you see the transformation of this unstructured information into structured information. The town is Nice, the location which is mentioned is Le Bateleur, which is the restaurant, with the date and time which is given, which is tomorrow, the 24th of July, 5 p.m. Here you have the tweets processing architecture with this. The first module is a Twitter messages gathering filtered by keywords using tweets. There is a morphosyntactic analysis with a deep syntactic analysis. There is then geographical control to locate places with the help of the geographical information system. And then there is a semantic extraction, which is a process based on the ontology from the sentence level and then related to the entire text. The last steps concern the event identification. When the semantic analysis has detected current ongoing events or future events on a specific place, and then the alert is triggered. The main difficulties that this kind of project is meeting is the language, the tweets language, which is different as users are writing as they speak, as we do every day when we are texting our friends, and according to social media habits, which is the most difficult part. The limited number of characters also push users to summarize the events clearly, and text is often associated with the images or video and with URL containing additional information. And also the common spelling mistake is the substitution of a word by another word, by another one with the same pronunciation. We give you an example here. On pourra trouver à Paris des monuments. There are many mistakes, French mistakes in this sentence, which means that we can find renovated monuments in Paris, where the user has replaced the verb to have by a pronoun. He has replaced the verb to have by a preposition, and he has used past participle by the infinitive form. So correctly, when you read this sentence, it doesn't mean many things. Another example in this language difficulties, there is this French sentence which doesn't mean anything, where there is not a single word in this sentence which is correct. It says that in French, j'en peux plus une go vin de foutre le feu dans une poubelle et repartir en scred. So meaning that someone, I can't bear a girl has just set a fire in a garbage can and run away discreetly. So it means that here you have abbreviation. I can't bear, JPP, j'en peux plus. You have the verb is formed with a number, 20, but to do, and poubelle is not written correctly. This is an example of a phonetics, a difficulty with the phonetic spelling, and this sound which is representing by a number. The next one is the syntactic problems limitation in terms of character, which character number, which pushes user to erase words which are not necessary for the comprehension. So they are erasing articles, preposition, and obliging to have more semantic approach of the analysis and to adapt on disambiguation rules. And they also, it pushed user to concatenate words without spaces, which was to split them into several tokens. You have also the hashtag and arrobas tags, which must be also split into parts to be integrated into the natural language understanding. An example is given with this hashtag Ville de Paris, city of Paris. And the third part is a list of arrobas or hashtag in the example given, for example, in the bottom. You see only a part of tweet message is written in natural language. The first part is the list of arrobas or hashtags and often the name of the city. And the second part contains the text in a kind of natural language. Arrobas tags with the hashtag and the URL. Here you have at Mathieu Nobles, for example, from Trignac. Trignac is a city in the south of France, I think. And so you have the name author of the message and the two dates in an apartment fire. GEO-CHRONOLOCATED even also could be a problem to geolocate problem. Twitter geolocation was previously easy to use or easy with the use of Twitter user GPS position, but only 5%, a limited number of people have given their consent to give their GPS position. So natural language processing is used to extract locations from message text and relations between them. And the GIS is used to solve the ambiguities for dictionary unknown location in order to get the GPS positions of each place. And then we combine them to get the most precise one. The first part is related to the geolocation message, and the second one concerns the current and ongoing events according to modalities, dots or tenses. So determining current and ongoing events to alert authority is important to demonstrate that the event is current or future. And the analysis has to take into consideration not only the verbs, but also the adverbs when users are using, for example, are writing suddenly, currently, tomorrow, or they are using hypothetical words like weather or conditions. So this is this has to be taken by the semantic analysis. related to our approach. This approach is rule-based. In fact, as we know that there is a confusion spelling between a preposition and the verb, we have introduced this word's confusion spelling into the dictionary search. And you see in French 2 examples, the preposition of the verb a and a will both have a different meaning, and there are this dictionary's entry used for respelling our phonetic representation of each word linked to their correct spelling. So you have an example which is given for tokens which are not in the dictionary, like Paris brûle, not Paris, brûle-t-il, the verb burns with the personal pronoun. The hyphen are splitted, brûle, burn with the hyphen to identify the verb and the personal pronoun. And you have also a splitting of unknown token into valid token, which is performed with validation rules when the user is written "je viens" icon, or the hashtag, the hash or the arrobas code with Seine-Maritime, which is a west region of France, or the remaining unknown token gets a default grammatical tag value, like for numbers. Here someone is writing 150. We have to deduct that this is a number or a proper name with an uppercase on the first character token, Chomsky. And we have to deduct probably that this is a proper name. Tagging is processed by machine learning based on a semi-automatically tagged text. A tweet corpus has been added for tweet processing. Rules are applied in a Boolean manner. In case of remaining ambiguities, rules user broader context are applied to resolve some semantic ambiguities. The system uses particular rules based on specific words. We gave you an example with some. Some could be the verb to be, but it could be also on the second singular form, and the to summon, or it can be also a plural noun, some. Here you have the recognition of named entities and categorizations, which are performed from a syntactic perspective by rules. You have the city, a French southwest city, which is recognized as a named entity, Saint-Jean-de-Luz, which is a town, or you have also a company called Société Nationale des Chemins de Fer Français, which is the French railway station. An example is
Grynszpan.
Sorry?
4 last minutes.
Yes, I know that. Thank you. An example is given: a very big house cat is drinking milk in a cup, where the dependencies inside noun phrases and relationships between noun and verb phrases are also issues from rules. And you have the dependencies inside noun phrases and relationship between noun and verb phrases also. You have another example: John and Peter are arriving, they are late. This phrase concerns also relationship between pronouns and their references. We handle also the temporalities, the past, present, the future, the modalities, the assertions, the doubts, the permission or the obligation, and the anaphora, like when we say the president will go to Berlin, the system has to understand that he will go, the sentence, the president will go to Berlin, he will leave tomorrow, where he should be referred to the president. The GIS has several rules to confirm even correct locations found by language processing and removing ambiguities. The wider the area to be monitored, the greater the risk that ambiguities will arise. And you have, for example, an example of additional information given at the region or well-known place called Gentilly, Paris, Texas, or Gentilly near Paris. And you have to understand that location can be given as a place between two positions or at the intersections of two ways. And the geographical information system is able to compute this GPS position. Semantic extraction is carried out in two phases in our solution. The first phase analyzes text sentence by sentence to extract events. And the second step, collect information between sentences by identifying entities we are named differently from one position to another. This phase takes also into account metadata like issue date and time to serve related dates in the text. And you have an example, D-3 for the next CEIS show. We have to understand that this show will take place in 3 days. An event set to be extracted is defined in an ontology, and the ontology, in fact, has been built from CRM SEM or F-event open source ontology. And this ontology has been built to recognize events like falling tree, flooding, accident, or again, violence, and so on. And I will, what is important to note is the approach which this alert, which is triggered from the first message. However, not all important information is necessarily in the first tweet, but we have to identify that a new tweet corresponds to the same event already described in the previous tweet. And that's primarily due to the geographical or temporal proximity, and then to the event type compatibility. And this is the ontological information for an event found in a tweet is stored on an Elasticsearch base, and it is then completed to tweets about the same events. And we give you an example on the attack of in the Strasbourg Christmas market. One tweet allowed the terrorists to be located in a specific place at a given time, and another one described his clothing. And both information would have been very useful for the police to have if they would have received the information immediately. And here was the evaluation that we have carried out on the Twitter observation in the French language during 4 days from Saturday to Tuesday. You can see that there were 8,919 messages. On these 8,919 messages, you have 347 alerts. 40% of them are accident, 30% are concerning fire, with a precision of 89%, 89.4%. And
you have to conclude, Stéphane, time is out.
Yes. What? Sorry?
Time
can
is
I
out,
conclude?
You should conclude, yes.
Okay,
time is out.
Yes. Okay, so we wanted to conclude with these few points. If French Twitter users would rather use official channels to run rescue, like in France to call the 18 or in the US to call the 911, this system remains very useful to enrich events data or to detect events which does not request rescue interventions such as unauthorized garbage dump. It's important also for disaster or terrorist events where tweets number is much more important, and rescue services are interested to gain information on the situation from different points of view, and especially when tweets are associated with images or video, give additional information for security. And also the detection of future open organized events are interesting sometimes for rescue services to organize the event security. And one more thing is the GEO-CHRONOLOCATED events detection as other applications that we have used for example, for future and ongoing events, for debriefing disaster, for resilience improvement. Also, we have been asked for suicidal intentions detection, for dialogues analysis between jihadist influencers and influences on social networks, or to prepare military actions using past activities in the same place, or improvements, improve investigation reports management for the police. And here is the conclusion. Sorry to be a little bit late.
Thank you so much, Mr. Grynszpan. Thank you, Stéphane, for this very deep presentation and technical one, because 12 years ago, respondents discovered that Twitter could be an interesting media to inform persons, especially journalists or decision makers. But now we also know that social networks, Twitter's another one, TikTok,
Sure.
Instagram, and so on, could be also some sources of information in large crises, especially if these information are verified and geolocalized. That's very fruitful and that's very relevant for those who are managing the crisis and who have to respond. So thanks a lot. I move again to India after this small trip to France. Move to India with Kailash Gupta again, giving us another point of view on the Ham Club station at Jaipur. So we hear you, sir, on the second paper, and please, the floor is yours.
So the teams invited practitioner talk to encourage submissions describing real-world experiences and case studies and lessons learned for this team's annual conference. And teams wanted practitioner submissions should be able to contribute to discussions. So this paper is about contributing to discussions, and the purpose of this paper, practitioner talk, is to provoke within quotes and unquotes, that is my word, provoke the discussion. So we will keep this presentation very small, and as soon as we finish, we want you to start discussing about our idea. So now, as just now I mentioned, our research, there are two parts. So this is the practitioner or praxis part. That is, we are going to set up a Ham Club station at the Malaviya National Institute of Technology, Jaipur. And the agenda for this is this is ongoing research again. So we will talk more about amateur radio and licensing and practical experience, and then the discussions. So this is I'll briefly say for people who might have not been present during the earlier presentation. So our research is a CDRI, Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure funded proposal. That has got two components, theoretical and praxis. Theoretical is to write a white paper to create awareness and persuade the government to set up amateur radio stations in district emergency operation centers. And practical portion is this one, that is to establish a Ham Club station at Malaviya National Institute of Technology, Jaipur. And the expected outcome is the reduction of mortality, morbidity, and infrastructure losses that generally occur due to communication failures during many disasters. So what is amateur radio? That is the definition under the Indian Wireless Telegram Amateur Services Rules 1978, that the amateur radio is a self-training, intercommunication, and technical investigations that are carried on by amateurs, that is, by persons duly authorized, interested in radio technique solely with a personal aim and without pecuniary interest. That is important, without pecuniary interest. Amateur radio operators, they do this for, without any monetary interest. Then the rules also state that a license to a club station is granted to a society, club, or an institution like the Malaviya National Institute of Technology, in our case. In India, which has the aim of investigations in the field of radio or the training of persons in radio communication techniques. So Malaviya National Institute of Technology, Emergency Electronics and Communication Engineering Department, we are associated, and that is what is their business or profession or academic research. And they've got programs at the undergraduate, that is bachelor's degree, master's, and PhD degree level. So further, provided that the license, that is a condition, that license shall be issued in the name of an authorized official of the society, club, institution, who is holding an amateur radio license. So this is my photograph with a ham radio operator. I am a ham radio operator, and the license is given with a call sign. Also, my call sign is Victor Uniform 2 Kilo India Zulu. So that is my call sign. And this radio you see, this is one of the almost state-of-the-art amateur HF. This is multi-band. HF, VHF, UHF radio. This is Yasu FT991A model. So, and with this type of radio, and we can have stationary, we can mobile it in the car also. It can be charged from the car, and we can take it to anywhere, and we can talk throughout the world, provide the antenna, and other conditions are good. So now we are supposed to talk about in this session about the practical experience. So our practical experience is that I am a general category amateur radio license holder by government of India. Each government, different governments, they give license. So, and call sign is Victor Uniform 2 Kilo India Zulu. This is how it is pronounced. I also got a license from the US amateur radio. KG6SQR is my call sign. And as a custodian of MNIT Hem Club, I had tried to apply for the license. The Government of India, Ministry of Communication, they got this saralsanchar.gov, the Geo, I think it's GOV probably, website. So license application has to be submitted only on online. Nowadays in India, they don't expect application hard copy or mail. But we tried, but there are some bugs in the program, and we could not submit the application. And we contacted the wireless planning and coordination unit to government, and they said that they will respond to us, and when the engineer is has time, they will call me back and we will resolve. We are still waiting. So anyway, so, and I have provided my not the one I showed in the picture, another Yasu FT840 HF transceiver, power supply and material for Hem library to my alma mater, Malaviya National Institute of Technology, for establishing MNIT Hem Club. And MNIT Hem Club will request, that is what we will do in future. There are 3 leading amateur radio manufacturers, ICOM, Kenwood, and Yasu. We will write to them to collaborate with us and provide state-of-the-art transceiver and other equipment so that they can demonstrate the utility, and maybe that may be their marketing techniques. You know, most of the time people give samples, so that will open their market for them. About 739 district EOCs. This will be of their commercial interest, and we will set up a equipment. We have also identified equipment which may be required for a typical amateur radio station in district EOCs, which are given in our recommended paper. And although India has a wide variety of geographical areas, so it may differ, but we have given typical specification. So now this is, our presentation is very small, but I want Sandeep to give some opportunity to add something else he wants to add, because Sandeep had come 2 years ago, and during the World Amateur Radio Day, which is celebrated on 18th April, and we set up a station, and he put up a 25 feet antenna, and the students and faculty were very keen. So Sandeep, go ahead.
Yeah, I really appreciate your effort, your effort in establishing radio clubs, especially radio clubs in the engineering institutes in India, because that would actually contribute to the emergency communication mitigation measures in India in a very good way and in a very efficient way. And regarding practical applications, actually, I have already given demonstrations to your students in your engineering college about the digital data communication using our handheld equipments. For example, Professor Stéphane Grynszpan. That was a very interesting talk regarding the phonetics and Twitter and difficulty in communicating GIS information and all those things. So that just ignited my imagination about our applications that we use in our day-to-day activities in our amateur radio world. For example, I have this radio. I'm not promoting a particular brand, actually, as you told, Dr. Gupta told that some people are trying to promote a particular brand, but I have this radio, Canute radio, and it can receive a text message when the cell phone network is down. When the cell phone network is down, I can receive a text message from a layman who may be not into the Twitter, into the social media, as Dr. Gupta has already told that ours is the oldest electronic social media. Even if all that network goes down, our network through this data communication would be up and running.
More than 100 years old, 110 years old.
Even more than that, 100. Even more than that, 174-year-old, when the telegraphy, the Morse code, is started by Samuel F.B. Morse. So I just like to give a practical demonstration, actually. Yeah. So you can see I am plotting my map. Right now I am at Goa. Right now I am at Goa. So my station is shown as in Panaji, Goa, for India International Science Festival. In case this particular location, this is totally GIS based on United States Naval Academy technology. You can see when I last reported my position. I reported my last position 2 minutes ago, and I have written a comment on my radio that it is India International Science Festival 2021 Mega Science Expo. Now I'm gonna show you a thing that suppose there is a boat sailing in the ocean, and it just wants to communicate with me, but it doesn't. It has a technology where it will automatically. That is why the United States Naval Academy has the technology called APRS, Automatic Packet Reporting System, in which the radio will automatically transmit the position information while the person actually talks. So let me grab another equipment. Let me just keep it here. I am grabbing my another radio and let me switch it on. And you can see that this radio actually shows my face as well. Yeah, this is showing my face as well. I think it is visible. Yeah, it is visible. Yeah. So this is a TFT screen. We have already actually these has been getting developed together with other technologies. So I'm just pressing this button, push to talk button, to talk to the control room, the emergency operations center. And if I'm in a boat, I'm just simulating. I'm just pressing the button. So you can see the map got changed. The map got changed. So you can see, is it visible? You can see a motorcycle icon here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is being done from this particular radio. And if I want to send a message to this motorcycle, if this is the motorcycle, this is a simulation actually. So this is all without cell phone network. I am doing from a radio which is connected to my computer. This radio connected to my computer, and I'm gonna send you a text message. Hello, TIEMS. Okay. So I'm gonna press the enter. Hello, TIMS. Sorry. Yeah. So you can see, you can see the text message here on the display here. So this is all without cell phone network, and we have the capability, digital communication capability, but people don't know actually.
And Sandeep, I also want to add that most of the astronauts, they have been amateur radio operators and they have talked from the space satellite with their family members, most of the astronauts. And lot of inventions have been done by amateur radio operators. So with this, Sandeep, is it okay to give the floor?
Yeah, I think I have shown a very important technology related to geographical information system integrated to ham radio, amateur radio.
I'll request the chairperson to give opportunity to people to, unmute and his camera and talk. They can ask questions. Yeah, more than welcome.
Good. So I will open the floor for some questions, maybe in the audience. If there is some person who wants to raise some questions, I don't see. If there is no question, I will give the summary of the day before the closure, if you agree of that. Yes, we are now facing a new era, of course, with so many changes in the threats and risks, meaning that the resilience and the crisis management have to move towards new goals, new objectives to be more efficient, of course. And what we had today, we had a wonderful opening sessions with Mr. Le Guen presenting the importance of the education to help public policies and to have citizens who are aware of some risks, aware of some practices, some best practices, and how to deal with. And that's really not the case in many places in Europe, you know. So there is a huge task to be done in this direction. And also, I noticed that the President, Chairman Harald Reger also mentioned this idea of increasing the knowledge between the person, between the communities, and also between the responders. So there is an issue, a real goal, an achievement to be done in circulating the knowledge. And I guess that TIEMS has a great role to play in this aim. And also Min Chetri this afternoon in his cooperation claim for disaster reduction evocate this need of sharing knowledge between the people, between the citizen, and also between the responding bodies. He said, nobody can manage alone. I think that that's really the point. That's really the truth. Also, some other pillars of the crisis management were described by, for example, Professor Chen with the food supply chain, and also with you, dear Indian colleagues, with the need of having some ruggedized and improvised, or not improvised, some ruggedized and resilient communication, radio communication, which is fundamental to deal between the bodies responding and also to link the population to that. And I will associate the talk of Mr. Grynszpan, who mentioned how with social network, is it possible to inform the body, the responding bodies, and to give some located information, which is, for example, so important in large disasters, large natural disasters such as storms, floods, or wildfires. When you have wildfires, you always have some houses or person trapped in the fire, and you don't know who are they, where are they. And if with the artificial intelligence and semantic interpretation of the social network, we are able to inform properly the responding bodies, we will save lives. And also we had this talk of Christian Somad, mentioning the differences of individual and collective resilience, and also through the necessary partnerships evocated the economic issues behind the scene of crisis management, because of course you always have behind the scene the question of money, of losses or saved losses. And of course we have this session, very interesting session with Eric Saylor from Sacramento Fire Department about what he called the ROI, return of investment of the fire departments, with Famida Sadi Rahman from Australia, meaning explaining the statistic studies of the database to evaluate the losses given by climate change, by structure fires, by all incidents. And also what is interesting in this work is when you are able to evaluate the losses, of course, it's easier and very close to evaluate the saved things, the saved parts. And also Dave Waterhouse gave the economic point of view on prevention, with some models and studies in Montreal, Canada, and Sherbrooke as well, in small cities to witness and to explain how the money you put in the prevention give a return on investment, preserving the values of the structures, preserving lives also by citizens and by fire service as well, and preserving jobs, of course. So everything is interesting in these starting studies. We have to say that all these economic studies are quite initial. They're not older than 5 years. So the interest is that there is a new deal on studying crisis management with this view on economic issues. Also, we have some interesting speakers. I come back to Professor Sheng because I think that Professor Sheng give the view on large floods, and maybe there is management of the crisis by itself, but also all critical infrastructures, supply chains, food could be endangered by all natural disasters. And the challenge is very wide for responding bodies and public authorities. So we will go on tomorrow in observing, in comparing, in hearing all the members and the attendees and the speakers to this conference, going on exploring the 4 pillars of crisis management, infrastructure, structures and prevention, responding, training, organization and tools, and also culture, education and citizen knowledge. I think the 3 pillars will be for the whole week our guides to follow up and to build some exchanges and some resiliency eventually between the TIEMS members, because when you know what your neighbor is doing, you are stronger and you are better. So thank you, everybody. I wish you a good evening, or maybe a good day for those who are Western. And we will see you tomorrow. I hope I don't forget anything. Thank you having been with us today, and thank you participating tomorrow again. Thank you. Bye-bye to everybody, and have a good day.